I wanted to talk to you today about the biggest misunderstanding between introverts and extroverts, in my opinion. And that's about silence in a conversation. Welcome to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast, helping ambitious introverts who feel deep down that they can add more value to the world to really thrive in their work. I'm Mariela Franker, and I'll be sharing what I'm learning as an introverted entrepreneur, a natural productivity coach, and a mom while I build my business online and take care of my family and myself. In this podcast, you'll learn the mindset and the practical steps to naturally increase the impact of your work while making space for your unique strengths as an introvert. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and you are just waiting for a silence to appear, just a little bit of space in between the words, the cascade of new information that's coming at you, and it just does not happen? I know I have. Silence in a conversation is something that is such a small thing. We don't usually even think about it as being a thing. And still, I feel like that little thing is at the root of the biggest misunderstanding between an introvert and an extrovert. Why is that? So to understand why that is, let's talk about the different communication styles. Okay, just as a disclaimer, I'm going to talk about these communication styles in extremes in this episode today, okay? So keep in mind that no one is 100%. So this extreme example, it may not fit you or your situation exactly. I'm just using it as an example to illustrate the natural communication style of an introvert and the natural communication style of an extrovert. Now, I use the word natural communication style. I use those words very intentionally because we have our natural style, natural problem-solving process, and we also have our learned styles. So oftentimes when we go to school and we learn to do our work in a certain way, we learn in group settings what's expected of us when it comes to communication, or sometimes growing up, people encourage you to do things in a different way that may initially feel natural to you. Or when you enter the workforce later in life. And sometimes we adopt these learned styles into the way that we do our work or the way that we express ourselves. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, and that can feel really good to some people, and you can be really, really successful at what you do, having that combination of your really, really natural style and the things that you've learned and adopted and picked up along the way. What I find is that even though that can work really well for some people, when you stay really, really close to your natural style, that is the place where you are most joyful, most energized, most effective. And the closer you can stay to that, the easier it is to do anything that you really want to achieve in life. So what do I mean with natural style then? Your natural style is basically the thing that you do when no one's watching, right? The thing that feels so good and so natural to you, you don't even think about it. Sometimes you're not even aware that you're doing it. So when it comes to communication styles, the introvert's communication style and the extrovert's communication style are very different. In a nutshell, what's the main difference? If I'd have to sum it up in one sentence, it would be that the natural communication style of an introvert is to listen and think first and then speak. Whereas the natural style of an extrovert is to listen and think while they speak. So this is the core of it. And there are other differences. One, for example, is the choice of words that you use while in conversation. The natural style of the introvert is usually more nuanced. We choose words that are quite nuanced and carefully considered wording and even sentence construction in a lot of the cases. An extrovert's natural style is in word choice is usually more adamant and more blunt because they think while they speak, right? So an extrovert is more likely to just say the first thing that comes in their mind, pretty much unfiltered, without careful consideration there per se. Whereas an introvert will mull it over first and then carefully consider how it is they want to respond to the other person. Another difference is, and this might be kind of a surprising difference. Introverts in general, when they engage in conversation, are looking for some kind of dialogue. And with that, it's like an exchange of ideas and opinions, looking for some kind of agreement, right, between the two people. Let's say it's a conversation between two people. The way that an extrovert engages in conversation is usually more geared towards a discussion. So that is more of an examination, of the issue based on arguments. And usually arguments are like pro and con, and then we weigh them up and we can make a conclusion. So dialogue and discussion. It's a surprising and sometimes interesting distinction. It seems subtle on the surface, but this difference can really change the atmosphere within a conversation. And this can actually have a lot of effect on the people who are talking, both parties actually. We'll talk a bit more about that in a little bit. Another difference is being very reflective for the introvert versus more action-oriented or impulsive for the extrovert. So like I said, introverts in general will listen and think first, then speak. And part of that is reflecting on what they're hearing. And only after they have this reflection, they will make a decision. For an extrovert, they want to see something happening within the conversation, either some action that's being taken or a decision being made. So they're constantly looking for that action piece. You can already see from this difference, if you're not aware of that in each other, just merely having a conversation can already feel really misaligned and very misunderstood. Both people can feel very misunderstood. So why is silence the biggest misunderstanding between introverts and extroverts, in my opinion? As an introvert, silence shows that you're interested in what the other person has to say. And the other way around, when someone gives you space in a conversation, creates a silence for you, you feel heard. Okay, you are creating space for me to now share. Of course, this is except when you're being overstimulated, right? In that case, a silence just basically means your brain is shutting down. But let's just say this is not an overstimulation situation. To an extrovert, silence means the exact opposite because, they think while they speak. So them speaking is their way of showing interest. Oh, you've piqued my interest now. I am going to engage with you in this conversation. And this engagement is helping me to formulate my thoughts and ideas. So they're very likely to immediately just say what comes up in their mind, not necessarily carefully considering that. Introvert can perceive an extrovert as being very blunt and very harsh and not very thorough because they share their first immediate thoughts. And on the other hand, an extrovert can perceive an introvert as being uninterested, slow, and unengaged. So when your communication style is towards the introverted side and you engage with someone who has a style that's very much towards the extroverted side, this can cause a lot of tension for both, a lot of misunderstanding. The clients that I work with who are introverted, they sometimes describe a physical fight or flight response, like actual anxiety within the conversation. And extroverts, they describe frustration. For an introvert, being engaged the whole time in a conversation like this can also be very, very tiring. I work with a lot of introverted solopreneurs, and this is one of the questions that I get all the time. How do I manage my energy when I'm being engaged constantly? For some people, it is someone close to them who has a very different communication style. And although they may enjoy spending time with them, being engaged the whole time is just simply exhausting. For some, it's a work situation. They might be part of a team, or they have a supervisor or a client who is very demanding when it comes to getting like quick responses, for example, via email or even text messages. And this can lead to overstimulation and exhaustion. And for some, it's about being a parent, especially with young kids and working from home. They have no time to do anything for themselves because all of their time and energy is going to work and to engaging with their kids, and they are exhausted. In my coaching programs, I take my clients through a method to stop this exhaustion by making more space for their natural process as an introvert. They have said that they feel more confident in their own capabilities, and it has even helped some of them to internalize habits that really support their natural style without feeling that they should do things. If you're an introverted solopreneur and you're looking for support around a similar question, book a free call with me to learn how this method can impact your life. I will leave the link in the description below. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and let's talk again next week. Thank you for listening to the Productive Introvert Community Podcast. If you're an introverted entrepreneur and you're ready to thrive in your own way, then connect with me on thefrankermessage.com/contact.